Arizona is at the time now where you need to win basketball games. Tommy Lloyd has stuck with players. He has defended them through thick and thin, hasn't necessarily benched them when maybe some other coaches would have. I'm at the point with this. You start Kylan Boswell, but you're also at the point where you need to win games. If this is the Kylan Boswell from the Pac-12 tournament and that we saw for a good percentage of the season, you've got a player in the bench, a total boss in Jaden Bradley. You need to go to Jaden Bradley, and you need to go to him early. The time for saying, well, we're obviously just going to give you 25 minutes, that time is over, Brad.
Yeah, and frankly, from my understanding, talking to some people that I hadn't talked to in a while, there's a little bit of the Miles Simon, Jason Terry at play with Boswell and Bradley, where can a guy handle mentally having his role changed? There was a time
that
when
is the first time in history that Miles Simon's on-court performance has been compared to Kylan Boswell. I know what you're saying,
because there was a time when Luke wanted to bench Miles when he had the academic stuff going on, and they knew that Jason Terry was mature enough to handle coming off the bench, and maybe Miles Simon wasn't. Again, revisionist history, because we all know what Miles Simon then did as a junior and senior, and things were great. Bradley can handle it. Again, I am a Jaden Bradley fanboy. I want him to be the starting point guard at Arizona.
You said this before the season, William. Got to give you full credit.
And, again, I was the guy who also said Kylan Boswell absolutely should have played more against Princeton. But Boswell has shown to me just this inconsistency, this ability to hurt the basketball team, whether it's his on-court performance. I mean, he was benched for basically the entire second half against USC, and it was when Bradley and KJ Lewis were on the court that they
made. He responded by going to the blackjack tables.
I think he suffered because he went to the blackjack tables, or the Oregon game. I was talking about Oregon, but there's a lack of maturity there. I think we all know some of these stories. We've seen the pictures. I've been told it's not a Photoshop. I've been told it may have been even worse than it looks like. So give me a guy who went to war with Alabama last year. I know he got his role diminished, but that was more for performance and the other guy stepping up. But I want a guy I know is not going to hurt me. And then if Boswell catches fire, great. Vinny Johnson him. Microwave him. Heat him up and let him go.
Here's the difference, though, that I think, and to kind of go with your Miles Simon comparison, Michael Dickerson was known as an upperclassman for not being around in big games. That wasn't necessarily the case as a freshman or as a sophomore, but he was known for that. But guess what? When you played Kentucky or played North Carolina, the ball wasn't in his hands. So he was at least able to focus on defense, and he wasn't exactly destroying you. Boswell has the ball in his hands. And against Oregon, I had a buddy of mine that messaged me when Boswell did like the 360 flip in the air and then threw it out of bounds or whatever. You could just tell this wasn't him. You can't have that in the NCAA tournament. There's the time for being nice is over. And especially when you've got a team that's built to win now and a player in Jaden Bradley that defensively is ready to go and offensively, while not a great shooter, has the full confidence that you can tell of putting the ball in the basket.
Well, and Jaden Bradley, you could actually, in a weird way, make that comparison to Mike D. Because Mike D was the third or fourth scoring option on that team when things were rolling. So you could make him the defensive stopper. You could not put the ball. You could count on Bibby and Simon and Terry if you needed to. Although Dickerson was a gifted scorer when his head was on.
Dickerson was the most gifted scorer on the team.
He was, but again, who hit all the big buckets in the NCAA tournament?
Oh, I know for sure.
Same thing with Jaden Bradley. If Jaden Bradley goes out and has no points, no rebounds, 3 assists, he might still be having a great game on the defensive end, keeping that offense moving. Because there are other guys who can rack up assists in that system. I mean, we've seen nights when Pella and Love combined for like 13 assists.
Right.
But yet it's Bradley running the offense or Boswell. So that's what they need. Again, they need, to me, the two guys you have to have putting up scoring numbers every game is Love and Larson.
Right.
Everything else, you have to have guys not hurt you. Do you want that double-double out of Umar? Of course you do. But they could win a game by 20, and Keshad Johnson could have 4 points and 8 rebounds.
Right.
They could also win a game because Keshad Johnson goes off for 18. But there hasn't been a game that I can recall where both Larson and Love have played poorly and they've won.
Right. Now, with Keshad Johnson, I don't even necessarily care about his stat line, although I do think from a defensive perspective, he's got to bring it. But I need to see rebounds.